What's up, Whisper Nation, and welcome back to another episode of the Fantasy Whispers. We are talking the Week 6 latest injury news and notes, who you need to get in your lineup, who you need to get out, start sits, all of that, Q&A. We'll get to it, and most of all, we got to talk about Zack Ertz coming to my Arizona Cardinals and what that effect has on all of the playmakers, including Kyler Murray. We'll talk tonight. Thirst. Stick around. Make sure you hit that subscribe if you're new. Hit that bell. We'll get into it. All that and more right here on the Fantasy Whispers.
Right here.
That's right. And we are now jumping into the news and nuggets section here. Johnny, how are you doing? I am Austin Sear. You can catch me on Twitter there at Austin_R_Sear. Johnny's is at Johnny_Game Time. You see it on screen right there. How are you doing, Johnny? How are you feeling about last night's Antonio Brown smash up and that Eagles and Buccaneers game? I know you and I are going against each other in our league of record.
Yeah, man, that was I had to stop myself. I didn't want to get too thirsty on it. So AB, man, I'll tell you what, he is looking like the old AB. He's looking like Tom Brady's most favorite weapon. And they look unstoppable, man. They look really good. I don't know how you don't play AB in your lineup from here on out. Like, he just gets...
I got to agree, man. It looks like he's obsessed with fitness right now, and I don't care if he's 32 years old. He's playing like he's back in Pittsburgh right now, and Tom Brady and him have a really, really strong rapport that's going.
Yeah.
Like,
I thought of this last night. I'm not trying to, get under your skin as a Packers fan, but I almost thought about, like, how Aaron Rodgers had posted like the Last Dance kind of little whatever meme or whatever. I almost was like, he probably meant to put Tom Brady and AB on that picture, because man, they are doing what we thought those
I'm sure that's what Tom. I'm sure Aaron Rodgers made that mistake.
Yeah, I know.
I'm sure that's what he thought.
Easy, that's his reps. He can hit me up. I'll help him out.
That's appreciated. We're going to help you out, Whisper Nation. Thanks for joining in with us. It's great to have you. If you're new to the show, say what's up in the comments. We want to welcome you here to Whisper Nation. We're going to be getting to the questions and some of the other items that people bring up at the end of the show, but we're going to do our best right now to get through all of the news and nuggets and the recent updates from around the NFL. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit more about that Thursday night game, Johnny. We're talking here about the Buccaneers. We'll start off with that side of the football where what's up, Mr. Miyagi? It's good to see you. Yeah, we're at a wedding down here in Aliso Viejo. Where Big Travis actually the best man for the wedding that we're at here. Yeah, so he's not going to be with us right now because he's doing groomsmen stuff like that. So Johnny and I are going to be holding down the show. Holding down the show. What's up, Accusings? Oh, he dropped Chuba yesterday, man. I'm so sorry. Bring those questions to us before you do something drastic.
I would hang on to Chuba, especially. I'm not liking what I'm seeing and hearing out of
Christian McCaffrey's out this week.
He's out this week.
Yeah,
we'll get into it. But yeah, we'll talk about more about that. But yeah, I'm concerned even long term.
Yeah, me too. Hamstrings are no joke, especially to that degree. But going back to the Thursday night game, Johnny, we talked a little bit about Antonio Brown. We talked a little bit about Tom Brady. That connection looks to be beloved between the two of them. It looks to be strong. It looks to be crisp. And is it matchup proof at this point?
I would have to say it is, because last night was that indication. It wasn't the best matchup. I didn't know entirely how many snaps Slay was going to see with AB. I thought, Pro Football Focus had it at like 22. And so it just was a little bit of a scary matchup for AB, but it didn't matter because of the plethora of talent that they have. And they did that again without Gronk, which should open up the field even more. It's just so hard he's on their third best corner usually, or even second. And they have this rapport that, and it seems like AB or that Tom really wants to show that AB still has it, So it's interesting.
I think you're right. I think that he almost has a soft spot for him and he wants to pull him along. You saw him doing that back in New England. You saw that when Tom Brady welcomed Antonio Brown into his home.
Yeah.
Another Tampa Bay Buccaneer that seems to be developing or have some pretty darn good rapport with Tom Brady. And the offense is Leonard Fournette, man. We got to talk
Yeah.
a little bit about him. 22
Uncle
rushing
Lenny.
attempts, 81 yards, a couple of touchdowns, also added 6 receptions for 46 yards. It's clear that he is the one. Ronald Jones is the 2. Ronald Jones has been efficient in that number 2 spot. I don't see this slowing down at all. Is Leonard Fournette back-end RB1, RB2 in that kind of category?
I think he's a high-end RB1, or sorry, not high-end, a high-end RB2.
Yeah.
I do think, you do have to be concerned that, right, he's not going to get that amount of volume around the goal line usually, right?
Yeah.
I do think Tom Brady will end up we've seen it before where it could go the other way, where they're on the 1 and they end up throwing, Tom throws a quick out to Mike Evans for a 1-yard touchdown. That happens as well. It just, you get these games where it does flip when it's easier to run it in than to pass it. And that's what this matchup dictated. But I do think that with the volume that he's steadily getting, 15 plus carries on an offense that is one of the best in the league, I do think he does have that, solid RB2 role. And then, like I said, if he has games because he can get goal line work like this, where he'll have RB1 upside. I do think, though, that Ronald Jones is a good handcuff to have if you do have Uncle Lenny, because it does seem like he looks good in that backup role, and that they would then put him in that Uncle Lenny role if anything were to happen. And we all know that, Uncle Lenny is not the ideal, health or bill of health. So that's just something to know in the back of your head if you have Uncle Lenny. But yeah, it looks to be his show.
Speaking of Uncle Lenny here, we're going to do our best to get to the majority of questions that are unrelated to the topic at hand at the end of it. So feel free to throw all of your lineup questions, trade questions, value questions our way. But expect those to come down at the end if they are not related to the subject at hand. But Michael Storms comes in here. His question is related to the topic at hand because Leonard Fournette is a part of the conversation. He asks, hey, I need running back, and I've been offered DeAndre Hopkins and Leonard Fournette for Devontae Adams and Mark Andrews. What's your take on this, please, Johnny?
I wouldn't do this deal, especially now with Zack Ertz, which we'll talk about in just a bit. But with Zack Ertz also coming to the Arizona Cardinals, we talked about how DeAndre Hopkins was kind of a buy or a sell high right now. That target share, they're really spreading the ball around over there. You've got Devontae Adams. He hasn't performed as well as he did last year, but I expect it to get better and better throughout the season. And I wouldn't necessarily do this. I don't mind trying to trade for Leonard Fournette, but I wouldn't do this deal.
Yeah, we've got Devontae Adams with over 200 yards last week. He is that main aerial vein. Yep. Mark Andrews had a great week, but that's a sell high. He's a very volatile player, and you're picking him up at the highest value he would have. I get the deal, but it's you're buying high on a lot of these pieces, and DeAndre Hopkins, as Johnny mentioned, might not be as valuable. Moving on. I'm glad you appreciated hearing that. Great to have you with us, Michael. Hope everybody here is also having a great end to their week. If you enjoy what you're listening to, hit that little thumbs up button. Allow us to connect with more people and keep this good time a-rolling. Speaking of good times, Jalen Hurts hasn't really looked good from a football perspective, but he's done just fine from a fantasy side. I enjoyed seeing him get 6 more points than Tom Brady did in your and my head-to-head matchup, Johnny. But come on now, he had just over 100 yards passing on 12 of 26, 115 yards. He did have that 1 touchdown, 1 interception as well. But it's that rushing work, right? Where he had 10 carries, 44 yards, more importantly, 2 rushing touchdowns. Jalen Hurts has a very high floor. I don't think we've seen him get very much above his floor at any point during this season yet. Goodness gracious. If he does have a chance to hit his ceiling, though, it's going to be a 40, 50-point game. It's capable, but he just is not looking good yet. They're not clicking yet. It's still his 10th career start. So it's making sense, but I guess I just wanted to kind of get your quick take there on Jalen Hurts and then the impact that this is having to the running back. You talked last year a lot about how mobile quarterbacks are not great news for your running back if they're on that same team. And my goodness, Miles Sanders, he's getting thirsty for some touchdowns, and I don't know if he's going to get that thirst quenched really anytime soon to any satisfactory degree.
Our best bet is that the coaching staff kind of gets fired there. That's basically what it's to your point. Hurts, I still think that Hurts has league-winning upside. Like he still is going to be a top 7, top 5 quarterback. He's on pace for that. He just, like you said, he was pulling a Lamar, where how he had I believe it was like 6 fantasy points heading into the third, or with 2 minutes left to go in the third, and then he just puts on a show, and he has that ability to do so. That offensive system was not helping him at all. They were not giving him good reads. They weren't like, there were so many times when, like they said it on the broadcast, where you can't set up a play where you're wanting to pass the ball and you only have 2 wide receivers going out on a route when they're dropping 5 DBs like in coverage, 6 DBs in coverage. You can't do that. It doesn't work. And so like it's that coach, they aren't running the ball enough, and when they do run the ball, it's so telegraphed. They also talked about that on the game, how like you're not confusing the defense. They know exactly what you're going to do, so it's not difficult to stop the run, and then you're forcing Hurts to be a one-dimensional quarterback. It's hard to do that if you're anybody besides maybe Tom Brady to be a one-dimensional quarterback when a team knows that you have to pass the ball. So again, we'll see if this coaching staff can get it right. I don't believe it's Jalen Hurts ultimately. I don't think he's the reason why they're not succeeding. Again, I do think he's a good quarterback. I've said that before. I do think it's the coaching system and that offense. They don't know what they're doing. But he remains, like, that doesn't matter for fantasy. Like, you still put him in there because he just is that good that he can get you that amount, like a solid amount of fantasy points.
Yeah, it's that like second half flare up too. The first half, the game plan goes awry for the Eagles, and then they get pounced on, puts game flow in Hurts' favor, and then he does whatever it takes. Deep throws to Devontae Smith, rushes, taking hits, whatever it is, he's making that action happen for the Eagles, which is happening for your fantasy football team. And a little bit of that action came from Zack Ertz, tight end for the Eagles last night, tight end for the Cardinals today, though.
Yeah, baby.
Yeah, this is a new addition. Adam Schefter making the report here that the Cardinals acquired tight end Zack Ertz in exchange for cornerback Tay Gowan and a 2022 fifth-round pick. Johnny, I'm liking this as a Cardinals fan. I know that little Cardinal over your left shoulder likes it too. Man, I just got to say, you told us Cardinals fans 4 years ago that we'd have DeAndre Hopkins, A.J. Green, J.J. Watt, and Zack Ertz would be the only undefeated team in the NFL. I think you'd be smiling. You smiling right now with Zack Ertz pickup?
Oh, 100%. I absolutely love this. I'll be honest, I didn't expect us to go out and be able to acquire Ertz. I thought that we would kind of go a different route, but this is fantastic. I love this for the Arizona Cardinals. I love this for Kyler Murray. This gives him more weapons. Max Williams, almost like I was like trying to figure out what I was trying to say there for a second. Max Williams was being utilized in this offense and was being, targeted, especially in the red area, by Kyler Murray. And now you get an offensive weapon like Zack Ertz, who is trying to get one more contract, right? So I love this deal. I think this is fantastic for the Arizona Cardinals. Love it for Kyler, but it is a detriment to some of those wide receiver pieces. Like, I don't think this affects AJ Green at all because he's seeing, pretty much the same amount of targets per game. I do think this does affect Kirk and Rondell a little bit. And I also think it affects Hopkins, obviously, with target market share. But yeah, I'm jacked right now as a Cardinals fan. I'm excited. I do think that Zack Ertz is an interesting player now for fantasy because you're looking at Max Williams and what he was doing for fantasy, and he was being thrown in there in that tight end streamer ability, and he doesn't quite have the skill, the receiving skill set that Zack Ertz has.
No, absolutely there. And Patty, I see your question here. We're going to be getting to all the questions at the end of the show here. But really quick, because gaming's question is relevant to the subject at hand. You rank Zack Ertz or Dallas Goedert higher rest of season. I think I got to go with Dallas Goedert on this one just because he's been doing really well, and he's the only experienced pass catcher now over there in Philadelphia. Zack Ertz was eating into some of that now, and he's going to be over the Cardinals. I like that for the Cardinals, but there's so many pass catchers who are actually qualified and capable in Arizona versus a bit of a different story if we're looking over there at New England. Speaking of not a lot of experienced pass catchers, John, we're going to move on here to the Baltimore Ravens, where rookie wide receiver Rashad Bateman's been activated from the injured reserve, and he is expected to play this Sunday. Sammy Watkins has been ruled out with a hamstring injury. Man, those things are going around like COVID. But so there should be some routes available right now for Rashad Bateman. We know this is a difficult passing attack to predict most of the time, given how how much Lamar Jackson can spread the ball, not spread the ball, do it through his legs. They got a lot of different outlets. We've also seen Marquise Brown pop off, and Mark Andrews looks to be returning to his typical up and down form, but a heavily relied upon target for Lamar Jackson. I just wanted to get you, are you starting Rashad Bateman this week with this news, or maybe next week? When would you be starting Rashad Bateman?
I would put him on my bench as a stash. I love him as a stash. I think he has a lot of upside. Am I going to play him this week? I am not playing him this week. It's the first week off, coming back. He did practice slightly, I believe, last week, if I'm not mistaken. But I want to see the connection first. I want to see how much they involve him first before I trust him in my lineup. But I do really like him as a stash. If you have a spot, I would pick him up before you see him play, because if he does, have a Kadarius Toney like game in his first game, he already has that quote unquote name and hype from the preseason. And now people are going to flock to try to get him, because now it's like, oh, he's back, I can get him. So I would try to beat that now and go get him and pick him up, stash him for this week. And then, if he doesn't do anything in the game, I believe they have an early game, if I'm not mistaken. And so if he doesn't do anything, you can always drop him. But I like him as a stash.
I like to add too on stashes. Usually there's some hype with the stash. If you can ever trade on that hype, I would suggest trading on that hype. I know it feels so good when you have an early call and it works out, but most of the time it doesn't. And someone who's willing to pay for that hype is usually going to regret it on the other side, and you're going to be thankful that you did. Speaking of thankful and grateful, you might not be so stoked with Christian McCaffrey as your first or second overall pick, as he has been dealing and suffering from a hamstring issue, which is continuing to linger. We did expect this. He's not going to play this week, reported by Joe Pearson over on Twitter. For what it is worth, Coach Matt Rule didn't label McCaffrey's midweek downgrade as a setback, just said he's not where he needs to be right now. How are you feeling about Chuba Hubbard in a start? And I mean, I guess that's really all we can look at right now. You're going to be starting Chuba Hubbard now, right?
Yeah, and I think he becomes, like, I wouldn't drop him. If someone drops him on your waivers, I'd go pick him up. Or even when CMC comes back, if someone drops him on waivers, I would go pick him up, because we've seen this happen before, where hamstring injuries, they linger. And this is, another season now where CMC is dealing with injuries, soft tissue issue at that, which is never good. I'm majorly concerned. I would, if I'm a CMC, if I have CMC, I am waiting until he comes back, has a game. Hopefully he makes it, you got to cross your fingers. Hopefully he makes it through. And then I would try to trade him high, because I don't want to be dealing with this throughout the, because there's a huge difference between Chuba and CMC.
Absolutely. And Whisper Nation, it's great to have you along in us with the chat. Keep sending your questions over our way. If they're connected to the subject at hand, we plug them into the show right then and there at the end of our next sentence. But if it's a question unrelated, keep plugging them in. We'll just get to those at the end of the show, because we want to make sure we do get through all of the news and notes from around the league. It's great to have all y'all with us. If you like what you're listening to, consider hitting that thumbs up button. Drop us a line saying hello. Speaking of hello, Johnny, we're going to be saying hello to Khalil Herbert this week, running back for the Chicago Bears, as Damian Williams is COVID positive. He's going to be out at least this week. David Montgomery's out. Going up against the Packers, I like these divisional matchups. Weird stuff can go down. Yeah. You starting Khalil Herbert in your flex?
If I have to, I don't mind. The thing is he's not going to get any passing work, or at least they haven't given him any passing work yet. So I could imagine more tight end involvement. You've got, obviously Fields can pull it and run. I do think that there'll be more dump offs for the tight end in this game. So I'm not, if I'm in a PPR league, like, I'm not rushing to start him. If I'm in a standard, I'm more so considering starting him. But he'll get, probably 20 carries in this game, because they're going to want to run the ball a lot. And they're probably going to limit Fields kind of throwing, I would imagine. So that's where I'm at with Herbert. Yeah. I am interested, though, in seeing what he does, because he looked pretty solid last week. So we'll see what and it's they could exciting. Get. Sorry.
It's exciting to see these young guys come in, and sometimes, you just pop and they get a fresh opportunity. It's a divisional matchup. Johnny's point, so I would temper these expectations. We don't know exactly where the passing work is going to be coming from. They're going up against the Green Bay Packers. You expect to see the Bears playing from behind, which isn't going to game flow work in any running back to the Bears' favor, and especially Justin Fields, too. It's unproven. Excited to watch what he's about, but it's tough to rely on him and the ancillary pieces from a fantasy perspective right now, as we still don't totally know what's going on with Matt Nagy and that Bears offense. But we do know that the Cincinnati Bengals offense is excited that Joe Mixon's feeling better, and he should be getting a full full workload. Week since. Nice matchup there against the Lions.
Yes, beautiful matchup against the Lions. This is going to be great. Joe Mixon, get him in your lineup. Chris Evans is someone that you should just keep an eye out, just in case over the next couple of days there's some negative news that comes out about Joe Mixon. I would make sure you have that kind of handcuff in case, because even Chris Evans should have a solid game against Detroit if anything were to happen to Mixon over the next 48 hours.
Yeah, and P. Ryan still got that COVID issue going on. So that would be Chris Evans then. Brad Montgomery here in Whisper Nation wants to know, how you feeling about Chubb now, given he's out for week 6 with the Cardinals, dealing with a calf injury here, reported by Ian Rappaport over on Twitter. Missed practice all week. Hopefully this is just like the 1 week kind of absence. Hopefully it's a little bit more precautionary. Uptick for Hunt, opportunity-wise. Yeah, we'll see how we'll monitor Chubb moving forward.
Definitely monitor Chubb moving forward. I don't think it's too serious, so I'm not like long-term concerned about it. Obviously, like you said, get Kareem Hunt in your lineup. He's been solid, especially when if there's no Nick Chubb, he's been a pretty good play. So, and I also think Felton, he becomes an interesting guy if you need a what the heck flex. They could use him as well. They usually do use still 2 running backs. But yeah, thumbs up for Hunt. And yeah, get Chubb out of your lineup this week. But I do think he'll be okay moving forward.
Nick Chubb will be out this week. Jarvis Landry is returning from the injured reserve, reportedly returned to Browns practice on Friday. They got 21 days to put Landry back on the active roster after he missed the last 3 weeks with that MCL issue. Keep him in mind, probably wouldn't be a recommended start to get him going after his first week back in action, but we'll be monitoring this, obviously, as news continues to come out. And if you got questions about the specific lineup, make sure you join the Sunday lineup show, 8:30 a.m., an hour and a half before kickoff, 11:30 Eastern time. Johnny and Travis are going to be going over all of your lineup-related questions before the games start. Make sure, though, you also got the Jaguars game this Sunday coming up there too. So
early
address
start.
That one yourself.
Quick tip on that, Mer, just to make sure you guys, if you have any of those players, make sure they're in your actual roster spots, not in your flex spots, so you get a little bit of flexibility in your later games in case anything happens.
Yep, well said. Great point. And now Ezekiel Elliott, who's been killing it, man. We talked a lot about that on the matchup breakdown show.
Yeah.
Been feeding the beast. He was limited a little bit, though, in Thursday's practice with some rib issues. Doesn't sound like it's really anything more of a maintenance. I don't expect to see a lot of this hamper any of his production. Feel confident about Ezekiel Elliott, but if you can pick up Tony Pollard and you haven't already, it might be worth that price.
Yeah, Tony Pollard, #1 handcuff to have.
Number 1 wide receiver selected for the Lions was Amon-Ra St. Brown this year in this year's draft. Jared Goff hopes to get the rookie involved more. He's been seeing a slight uptick, might be warranting a little bit of PPR consideration in a flex spot moving forward. TJ Hawkinson has deserved a lot of consideration in all formats, but he's been a bit of a disappointment. He's been a little bit banged up too. He's got a knee issue. He returned to practice on Thursday. We don't know if he's going to be limited or full. It doesn't really matter. It's a good sign for his availability. There's never really any concern. We just hope to see him getting right with Goff and getting that production back up to what we saw it early on in the season. We expect it to come around. But then against the Lions, and they do wild stuff always, it's assuming logical coaching and play calling. And I don't know why we would assume that from these guys at this point. Neighbors to the north, though, in the Green Bay Packers have been fairly logical right now, and I think it does make some sense here with the conversation coming out around Aj Dillon. Packers head coach Matt LaFleur said he wished that he had gotten Aj Dillon more than 12 touches in Sunday's overtime win against the Bengals, and the team is confident in Dillon's receiving skills. He has looked good. We talked about this at the top of the season, how Aj Dillon could elevate his gameplay, and he's a better running back than Jamal Williams. This could take a bit of Aaron Jones's opportunity away. You hope his efficiency then increases by it. Aaron Jones isn't going anywhere. He does special things. I think we're hoping that Aj Dillon can also becoming a running back who does special things. It just hasn't happened yet, but there is reason to believe that it's coming up. Would you consider flexing Aj Dillon at this point, or is that a little bit too risky? Is that a little bit of a cute play right now until we see it again?
I think it depends on what your other options are. I mean, with bye weeks coming up, you might have to, but I would like to see a little bit more volume before I'm, throwing him in there.
I want to go back here really quickly to the Mr. Miyagi point. Do you think Hawkinson still struggles as a Cincinnati has been strong in 10th? Yeah, it's been sneaky good. They've only allowed 153 yards to tight ends, and it's not likely they've played a great tight end though yet. You know what I mean? Like I'll look at it this way too. The Baltimore Ravens let up the most fantasy points to tight ends, and that was the worst game that Hawkinson had up to that point in the season. I'm paying attention to this stat, Mr. Miyagi. I'm definitely aware of it, but I'd really need a nice other tight end option to be starting over TJ Hawkinson. I wouldn't get cute most of the time in this situation. Your studs can overcome these types of situations. That's why they're studs. I feel comfortable still with Hawkinson as a stud. I'm more concerned about the play calling over there in Detroit and that operation. We'll see if it gets right, though. It's definitely a good point and something to be aware of. But as always, if you can start someone better, start someone better.
Yeah.
And speaking of starting someone better, that's what the Indianapolis Colts have been having to do at the wide receiver position, given that their longtime stud T.Y. Hilton has been out, this time with a neck injury, but he returned to practice on Wednesday. Colts designated him to return from injury reserve. You got that 21-day window now to be officially activated. You're not starting him right now. He's probably on your waiver wire. Would you consider picking him up in a week or two?
Yeah, in a week or two would be interesting. Wentz is throwing the rock over there, so and we know, Hilton has that high upside. We've seen him go off for a couple of games and really get that connection going. If he goes to the slot and plays the slot, then you like that. So I don't mind it. I wouldn't do it, right now, but at the end of a bench stash, I don't mind it.
Like that one. Hey, do it for 20 jumped in the chat. What's going on, man? It's great to have you back
buddy?
With us.
Yeah.
He asked about the Bengals. We had just gotten over Cincinnati in a second. He asked us Samaje Perine on COVID. Would you start Chris Evans on as a flex of the last resort? We brought this one up. We said if Joe Mixon is out, most definitely. But right now, Joe Mixon is looking like he's going to be getting a full workload. That's the language coming out of the Bengals office right now. So no, but if there's a setback or anything weird goes down, then yes, we would be looking at starting Chris Evans as a flex. Good question. Thanks for joining with us. Moving over here to the Kansas City Chiefs, where star wide receiver Tyreek Hills was sidelined for Thursday's practice. He had a gnarly quad contusion suffered in Sunday night's blowout loss. It looks like his status is truly up in the air. Monitor this. If he's playing, you're playing him. It is a knee bruise or it's a leg bruise. So he's in a ton of pain, but he functionally should be able to be all right if he is active. I don't think I'd have a lot of hesitation starting him if he's in. I think the adrenaline and all the drugs they're going to be shooting into his body are going to overcome that ailment, but he might just not play. They might just not play him.
Dude. No, I think obviously you do have to monitor this. Apparently he returned to practice today and he looked fine according to beat reporters. So we'll see what that means. We've been lied to by beat reporters before. So we'll see. But like you said, yeah, I do think that they would ultimately give him, he would play. If he doesn't, Mecole Hardman definitely becomes a very, very interesting play for me. I would consider throwing him in your wide receiver slot if if Tyreek Hill does not play.
I love that. In our Dynasty League, that's exactly what I will do as I picked up Mecole Hardman in the offseason to be the handcuff for Tyreek Hill in exactly this type of situation. Going here over now to Las Vegas, where running back Josh Jacobs has been sidelined the last couple of days, dealing with an illness. Not looking like it's COVID, but Josh Jacobs is on the up and up. You just hate to see a little bit of a bug come in and get buggy with
I
it.
know. This is And that, and right after I say go ahead and drop Drake and watch, this would be the game where, all of a sudden they use Drake as that RB that leads to the running back group here. No,
Yeah.
I think I think he'll play.
I think so too. And I see a lot of great questions coming in here from Whisper Nation. It's great to have all y'all with us. Joey, Rob Navarro. Stay tuned. We're going to be getting to all of the questions at the end of the news and nuggets section. If you do have anything relevant to the subject at hand, though, let us know and we'll try to plug that one in. But we'll make sure we get to everything there at the end. So stay with us. And Mike Williams is staying with you. Has been all season, but wide receiver for the Los Angeles Chargers, often injured. I hate to say it, but it's true. He's got a knee issue. He's not practicing at the beginning of Thursday's practice. This is not trending in a great direction. But he's probably the kind of player who's going to play on a limited health situation. I mean, he's killing it. He's a top 3 wide receiver right now in pretty much all formats. But he does have a history of injury concerns. Keep an eye on that one.
Yeah, I would just keep an eye on it.
Yeah. Speaking of keeping an eye on it, it's been pretty fun to watch right now. The news coming out of Miami where the Dolphins quarterback Tua Tagovailoa is not listed on the final injury report. Devontae Parker is not going to play, though. So some big news there, but it's exciting to see Tua coming back right now.
Yeah, it will be interesting. I do like, I think this upgrade, I think Gesicki, obviously with Parker out, Will Fuller still out. I think this upgrades Gesicki. I think he needs to be in your lineup, and Tua has a connection with him as well.
Minnesota Vikings running back Dalvin Cook was removed from Minnesota's final injury report. Doesn't just feel good? You know they're not 100%, but they're removed from the injury report. It almost feels like they are.
Right? Yeah, I know, right? It's like such a funny thing. You're like, oh, they got removed from the injury report. They're fully healthy. And it's like, yeah, they're still not healthy. They're just like, they didn't report like it's serious enough. Yeah. But you do love it. You do love it for sure. You rather have him not on the list than on the list with the ankle still. So put him in your lineup.
100%.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, though, in Minnesota, other star player Justin Jefferson did not practice on Thursday. He's got an ankle injury, so we're going to be monitoring this. He's going to be playing. He's going to be in.
I think he's in. Yeah.
You're gonna curb your expectations a little bit, but he can still pop off, and you love to see that. We're going to go now over to New England, where running back Damian Harris got upgraded yesterday. He's dealing with a rib issue. It doesn't look like anything super, super serious, but it could decrease his workload a little bit. It could bring a handful of touches over there to Ramondre Stevenson, who we've seen get more involved. Also, Brandon Bolden, who's been on the field a lot. He's a good pass blocker, catch passes as well. He's been getting involved as well after the James White news. So just keep monitoring Damian Harris and make sure then you are joining the Sunday morning lineup show, 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 Eastern, an hour and a half before kickoff, where Johnny and Travis are going to be answering all of your lineup questions. So we're going to have more news in a couple of days and be able to give you even stronger answers on guys like, should you start Damian Harris over pick a guy?
Yeah.
Speaking of a guy, we got Daniel Jones in New York, who is looking like he's going to be a full participant today. And his coach, Joe Judge, looks like he's getting ready to wheel him out for Sunday's action. Not a lot of other players, though, are going to be seeing action. We got Kenny Golladay, who's hurt. We got Saquon Barkley, who's hurt. Kadarius Toney picked up an ankle injury, second straight ailment, limited him on practice. And now Sterling Shepard is also looking like he's trending in the right direction. This is, to me, is just making a lot of confusion. Like, I liked Toney as a start. I don't like the ankle injury. I also don't like Sterling Shepard or Slayton getting more involved from Kadarius Toney's fantasy outlook. That's not, to me, great news.
I think what Toney's shown over the last 2 games, he's going to just solidify himself in that. You can't put that.
Are you concerned with that ankle though? And all like the race car thing or the spaceship, right? Like a little thing goes off in a spaceship and then you can't fly.
I'm not worried about it. I do think he doesn't end up playing in this game, but I do think he's back next week. And once again, like, you've seen what he can do with the ball in his hands, and like, that's what they want. So I think, and we talked about this on the show. What I end up think ends up happening, and what I'm concerned about for Shepard is that when Shepard and Toney get back and they're both playing, you have Golladay, obviously. I think Slayton takes the back seat. I do think they move Shepard over to the other outside wide receiver spot because he's played it before, and he's kind of one of those receivers who can be moved all over. And then they keep Toney in the slot, and we know that's where all the targets are going. So I think ultimately it's still fine for Toney long term. But there is some short-term injury, short-term concern with Tony. I do think that Shepard would be an interesting play if Tony doesn't end up playing this week. Once again, I think he should walk into like that 8 to 10 target volume one more week at least until Tony were to come back.
You're talking about long-term viability, short-term concerns, and you could be talking there about Russell Wilson, quarterback for the Seattle Seahawks, who we knew had that gnarly finger break, sprain, whatever it was. It looked pretty
Yeah, it was.
It was like they were doing some construction work on that finger of his, if you will. Man, it was going a direction it doesn't normally. But he returned to practice on Thursday, got in a limited session. They're not putting him on the injured reserve. That means they're not expecting him to miss more than 3 weeks. Stay tuned.
This is crazy. We'll see. They have a bye in week 9, so it'll be interesting to see if he comes back in week 10.
That makes sense. It also makes sense that Chris Carson is remaining sidelined at practice, given that he's dealing with a neck issue. We're calling this a chronic neck issue.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like he's trending in the right direction to play this week, and I'm not sure of how much he's going to keep playing moving forward. It's a chronic neck injury, and you are a running back.
Yeah, Pete Carroll talked about how this like flares up from time to time, and he just kind of deals with it. He's had it. So I've had some people ask me if you should go and try to target him, buy him low. I am really concerned about it because this is kind of the first time we've really heard about this kind of injury. And if he's had it for a while, why hasn't it been talked about before? But there is a possibility where if he did have it before and play through it, and then, it's just kind of something that flares up and goes away, then it could be worth the gamble. I think it would depend on what you're trying to give up, but I wouldn't, I'm not actively trying to go out and get him because I think more oftentimes than not, it ends up going in the wrong direction for you than actually being a payoff.
Hear that, agree with that as well. Hey, I want to say what up to Gus Ramos. What up, guys? Great to have you with us as always, my dude. Moving over here now from Seattle running back to Seattle wide receiver, your boy Johnny DK Metcalf. He got downgraded yesterday to did not practice, dealing with a foot issue. You hate to see those midweek downgrades. You're hoping this is more precautionary, but this is a real thing to monitor now. You're going to need to see what happens after that downgrade coming into Sunday.
I think, and specific, we'll keep getting information over the next 48 hours, but certainly not what you like to see later on in the week. And then you're looking also at, the potential downgrade because Geno is the quarterback. People didn't talk. So there is a possibility that you have a better option this week than playing DK Metcalf because of this. But as of right this second, I do think he ends up playing as well. I think he's in, but definitely monitor this situation.
Moving over now from DK Metcalf to his collegiate teammate, Aj Brown, wide receiver there for the Tennessee Titans. We've been monitoring his hamstring. He's a full participant in yesterday's practice. Great sign for his viability on Sunday. Again, we know he's not 100%, but full practice, goddamn, you are 100% to me, my guy.
Yeah, exactly.
Game flow is going to probably be working in his favor this week going up against the Buffalo Bills. Tough defense, too. You don't like that, but they might have no other choice in Tennessee than to try to make those tight window throws happen.
Yeah, AJ Brown is a player I'm trying to acquire right now if I can in leagues because his value's low. Most likely the team that drafted him is probably not a winning team right now because of the draft capital they had to invest and how little he's played. I do think better games are ahead. Also, the fact that, they're against the Bills and the Bills have been shutting down, complete offenses also bodes well for trying to trade for a guy like AJ right now, because if said team is struggling, they need to win this week, and they're concerned with the matchup. It's a great recipe to try to go out and acquire AJ Brown right now. But if I have him, I am playing him, like you said. Game script and the over/under and how many points they're trailing, or according to Vegas, would dictate that they're probably going to be coming from behind, and AJ should be involved.
I think you could also apply that commentary you heard from Johnny and myself on AJ Brown to Julio Jones, but just in a slightly downgraded fashion, as it's Julio Jones, who's the number 2 behind AJ Brown now, as the future is now, and AJ Brown is the now. Julio Jones, though, he's practicing in full now. His hamstring, he's been dealing with that, but he's back. You love to see it.
Mhm.
Temper expectations again, but Julio Jones and AJ Brown, they're both dealing with hammies. They're both full participants in practice. I would move forward as expected.
Yep.
We're going to our last team now on the News and Nuggets conversation for today, and that's the Washington football team. We got some real conversation here to talk, mainly about their playmakers over there in Antonio Gibson. We'll start with him and then jumping over to Terry McLaurin. I think this was some interesting commentary that offensive coordinator Scott Turner produced on Antonio Gibson. We know he's been dealing with a shin issue. We know he's got a compound fracture over there. He's been limited in practice, but Scott Turner said he's actually not limited in what he can do despite drawing limited practice tags. No, he's good, was Turner's response when asked if Gibson has been limited by his shin issue. He's not limited. We take care of him during the week, and we make sure he's ready to go. This reminds me of what former head coach in the NFL, Hugh Jackson, said about coach speak, right, Johnny?
Yeah.
Is a coach telling you something truthful? Maybe, but it's really just there to fulfill an ulterior motive. Maybe you want to keep your defensive opponent guessing. Maybe you want to gas up a player on your own team. Maybe you want to inspire someone on your team. In this situation, this looks like he is trying to not tip his cap to a defense. Like, why are you going to say, oh yeah, Antonio Gibson really can't cut on his left foot in the same way he did 4 weeks ago. Yeah. So we're designing more plays to minimize that weakness now and to keep it hidden.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, they're not going to do that. So, yeah, it is interesting. I continue to monitor this week in and week out because you never like to hear a running back dealing with some kind of foot or shin or anything. But again, his touchdown upside is there. You're still playing him.
He had 20 touches last week, and you figure
that's
it's
the other
more
thing
healed now than it was then.
Right. That's the other thing is like we keep talking about it, but like their workload, like they said, he keeps getting a massive amounts of workload there. So, but again, he's also not getting a lot of receiving work. And so it's like, he's not limited, but you are limiting him. You are limiting him. So.
Yeah, you're still keeping him in your lineup. You're still I'm still excited about him. I'm just not expecting to see a full ceiling. I hope that ends up healing up well.
Dude. I wanted a ceiling year for him.
I know. It sucks. Hopefully we get this on the second half. We'll see. We'll see. We'll also see about Terry McLaurin, their star wide receiver, who was downgraded did not practice this series. Makes me hurt on the insides, dude. On Friday, as he's now got a hamstring injury. We'll go with the good news now. Ron Rivera said that McLaurin was sidelined out of an abundance of caution after feeling hamstring tightness. Yeah. It's not a pop. It's some tightness. It's just just kind of tight. Just you need to loosen it up a little bit. God, I hope so. Fantasy managers, you really going to make some contingency plans. You're going to have to keep an eye on this one. They're not going to want to tip their cap to the defense for a star player like Terry McLaurin, especially when they've got Curtis Samuel, who's also out, Logan Thomas, who's also out.
This will be definitely something that you will want to. I won't be surprised if he gets ruled out because this is such a late kind of DNP. But again, if it was it could have actually been just a tightness, and they're like, oh, hey, we cannot afford to not have Terry McLaurin in this game, so let's not practice him. Let's make sure he's good to go. Make sure that hamstring is good to go for Sunday because we really need him. So again. This will probably end up being a Sunday morning topic for sure. But as long as he's good to go, if they say he's in, I'm playing him. He's that talented.
Me too. We talk a lot about hamstrings and how serious they are, and they are. And you can also, in a lot of situations, play through it. I'm thinking of Amari Cooper, who got a hamstring injury in the game, sat out a handful of plays, and then came back and caught a nice touchdown and had some other nice work a couple of weeks ago. So, if he's in, he's in my lineup as well. Well, Johnny and Whisper Nation, that's the end of our list of show notes for this, which means we get to jump into some of your questions here. And we'll go with Jair's, who is relating his question right now to the subject at hand as well. Do you like any of the Washington wide receivers if Terry is out, or would you just upgrade McKissick? What do you think, Johnny? Diami Brown, Peoples-Jones at the tight end spot? Anybody get an uptick for you if Terry's out?
Peoples-Jones would get an uptick for me. Diami he's dealing with an injury himself, like that wide receiver. And so I wouldn't trust any of those guys in my lineup other than Ricky Seals. And I do think McKissick would then be an interesting play, because especially in like a PPR league, because I could see a lot more dump offs and stuff to McKissick, and then they could probably also get Gibson more involved than what he has been in the passing game, if truly, he's not limited, like the coach said.
All right, here now I want to go into the top of some of these questions. I know some of y'all have been waiting to get these ones
appreciate
addressed.
you guys.
Appreciate you guys. Really, really do. Wish you all the luck this week here. So, jumping over here to we got Michael Storm's question. BGW, doesn't matter, going to win this week. Love that you're going to win this week. Good for you, man. We've got BGW, who played against Mike Evans and Miles Sanders yesterday. Total of 12 fantasy points behind. That feels so,
That's a good one.
So good. All right,
Are you
Anthony,
concerned about Mike Evans at all? Or Chris Godwin, frankly?
You know what? I'm concerned. Now, I expected to see Mike Evans always be a volatile player. He does this. He goes up and down, and he's got a stature and a presence to him that can't be replicated. He's going to have games. I think rest of season, he's fine. I don't think he's going to be a consistent play. I think Antonio Brown is the most consistent play. Chris Godwin has got almost a little bit of Antonio Brown and Mike Evans to him. Like, he can be relied on in like an everyday capacity. He's also got good skill sets, but he's not exceptional beyond those other two either. So he kind of fills a role in between the two of them.
Yeah.
But I like Antonio Brown as like this crazy high upside safety blanket, and then Mike Evans as like the big play type of guy that they're just not going to be going to as often, almost like a big Mike Williams in years past on an upgraded offense, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Anthony Klimas wants to know here. I hope I got that pronunciation right. Klimas or Klimas? Let me know. Cooper or Chase Claypool? Amari Cooper. I'm assuming, is that Amari Cooper or Cooper Kupp?
Yeah.
Either way, we can answer.
I'm assuming it's probably Amari Cooper.
Yeah.
Or Claypool. I would probably go Claypool.
Yeah.
You got Dallas against New England. And you could see there's a potential that this is a much heavier run game for Zeke in this game, but we'll see. I would, and you've got Amari Cooper a little bit banged up. Claypool is a little banged up as well, but yeah,
he's recovering, and I like what he did last week. Juju's out as well, right?
Yeah.
So we got Claypool, just 55% of the snaps last week, and 2 weeks ago he had 92% of the snaps Chase Claypool did, but he did monster work last week, and we know he's capable of this. This is fully in his skill set. I like Claypool moving forward. He's getting more healthy. It's going to be better and better as the weeks progress. I feel fine about him this week. All right. Patty wants to know, Johnny, pick one, flex, full point PPR, Kadarius Toney, Tyler Lockett, Michael Pittman, Jacoby Myers, your boy, Robert Woods, or Hollywood Brown. You got to pick one.
PPR, I would go. It's between Pittman and Myers for me this week. Well, it's PPR. Woods does have a decent matchup, but Bradbury is on him. I would go. No. Give me Woods. Hollywood has a really hard. I do like staying in the flames with Hollywood, but when you have this kind of depth, I would probably go. No, I'm not gonna. I stay in the flames with Hollywood. He's been dominating. They're getting the looks there. I don't, especially with Watkins out, Bateman's first game back. I still think Hollywood gets a lot of work. I would go Hollywood.
I agree with that 100%. I think that Hollywood's not only is on track right now, I think he's also getting better as it goes on. I'm staying in the flames with Hollywood. Jacoby Myers has got a great matchup.
Yeah.
It'd be tough for me to start him over Woods, just given the pedigree of Woods and the great week he had last week. Johnny, you talked so eloquently, though, on the matchup breakdown about how primed Jacoby Myers is in this matchup. It's great. I try not to get cute, though. If it's between a good player versus a stud, and the good player's in a good matchup and the stud is in a tough matchup, I'm still going stud on this one. Lean on here. That's what I'm going to do. Lean on my best players in that one. But nice depth over here.
Great.
With Straight Gaming, I think, or Street Gaming. Would you rank Zack Ertz or Dallas Goedert? We talked about this one. We're going to go with Dallas Goedert because he'd be the only one. RJ Irving wants to know if he should start Sony Michel over Jamal Williams. Any insight on this one, Johnny?
I would still. I mean, I get the question because Jamal has been banged up all week. He hasn't practiced. He's also dealing with an injury or a sickness, an illness, not COVID, but he's just sick. And there are some. I would still go with Jamal though over Sony just because you don't know the workload. Like it was kind of a little fluky that Sony scored last week. It ended up saving a lot of people, but I would have more confidence in the volume that Jamal is going to get over Henderson. Over Sony, over Henderson is what
I agree. Bruising here coming with it. Should I trade Justin Herbert and Corey Davis for Kirk Cousins and Antonio Brown?
Not unless you have another quarterback better than Kirk Cousins, because
Kirk Cousins is droppable, streamable.
Yeah. But I don't
Justin Herbert's really nice.
I don't mind trying to go after Antonio Brown, but I would need it would have to be someone different for me than Herbert.
Yeah, you just have to have, for me, another type of quarterback that you could get. I mean, last week he got you a 40 burger or a 50 burger, depending on the settings, and you're just not really able to find a streamable quarterback who can get you that level of upside. Like you can find a streaming quarterback who can get you 22 points. I'm not saying you can't, but it's hard to find a streamable quarterback who can break you for 40 burger. And Justin Herbert is on pace to keep doing it. That's going to be a bigger margin. Like I love Antonio Brown too. Like Antonio Brown comes out last night, he had a great day, right? Like 90 yards and a touchdown, get you that 15, 16 points, whatever it ends up being. Like the difference in between that type of production and other type of wide receiver is probably not going to be as much as the difference between a waiver wire quarterback and Justin Herbert, just because that they just have larger scoring sample sizes. And I like the margin over replacement, if that's the stat of what Justin Herbert brings to the table.
Yeah.
Here.
I would definitely try to just get a different or if you let us know who's available on your waiver, I could tell you I would rather have, because there's trying to acquire Antonio. I don't mind necessarily trading away a quarterback is if I can get, a replaceable piece, but to me, Kirk isn't a replaceable piece.
Kirk's not the replacement piece. I agree with you, but there's a lot of ones who are maybe even like a Joe Burrow, maybe like with that upside a little bit. I'd want something more. Maybe to give me some wob or something to sweeten it up.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
You know what I'm saying, though? Like a type of player with that extra level of upside, a little bit of a mystery box appeal. Kirk Cousins ain't no mystery box.
No.
And it's a mystery if he's going to be starting for you every game. Yep. I want to now bring up Joey's question here. He wants to know, start Stafford versus New York or Kyler Murray versus Cleveland with a bummy shoulder.
I would probably roll. Hold on. Let me see which one has I'll be honest with you. Let me see who has the higher over-under in this game. They're both really close to me, or close. The only problem I can see with the the Rams playing the Giants, they get up a lot and then they start running more.
Yeah.
I'm probably still rolling with. No, I'm rolling with Cleveland. Or I'm rolling with Kyler. Like Cleveland is giving up the fourth most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks right now.
And here's the thing: Arizona wants to win. They're the only undefeated team in the NFL. They all have an extra little Geppetto on their shoulder right now, encouraging them to make that play, go for it. Like they're going to be playing to win. The Cardinals are in a position to be a special team right now. And honestly, until they lose a game, like they're going to be going all out, and they don't have an option to lean on anyone other than Kyler Murray. Chase Edmonds is a little bit banged up. James Conner's career is a little bit banged up. You don't have another option other than crank Kyler Murray up to 11 and let's get this dub.
I just thought about this is really interesting. The first year, Fitz has been with us like forever. It's the first year where he isn't, because like he's been hanging on the last couple of years because he's like, oh, we could be good this year. We could be good, like last championship run. And then it's like the year he doesn't come back, we're sitting here 5-0. There's really good potential. And it's just like, oh my gosh, if you would have, I wanted to see him get a ring.
He still might come back, dude. The quietest superstar retirement of all time.
Well, and he did want to do it. Like that was his style. He wanted to do that. But I do think that there is a chance that, he gets, come week, 10 or 8, whatever I think you can, I don't know when you can pick. I think you can pick up players at all. I don't know. I don't know what that technicality is, whatever, it doesn't matter. But I do think that like when it's nearing that date or whatever, Fitz could end up coming back if we're still, looking like this talented thing. And I'm not saying he's going to get a ton of volume or you should pick him up or anything, but I do think it's this thing where like we want to get him a ring. And if we can, prove to him that we're in contention, he might just jump on just to, get his ring, which
I
I
would
would not
expect he
be
might.
opposed to. I wouldn't be
It's crazy.
opposed to it.
I would be opposed to it either, and it is truly the quietest superstar retirement of all time. It makes Tim Duncan's exit look
I
like an
know, dude.
Olympic opening games ceremony. Like, it's crazy, dude.
Yeah,
Hey,
dude.
Whisper Nation, we got like a dozen or so of you with us. If you enjoy what you're listening to, consider hitting us with that thumbs up. And if you want to catch the rest of the content coming your way literally every single day over on the YouTube channel, hit us with a subscribe. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, too. We got content coming out there on the regular over there. Rob Navarro knows this. He's a familiar one. Love to have you here with us. Rob, do I play Chuba Hubbard over Darrell Williams? PPR, Johnny.
I would go. I'm going Chuba. I'm going Chuba. Just because here's my concern. Here's my concern with Darrell Williams is the game script is kind of interesting to me, as it could be more of a Jarrett McKinnon game. Like, Jarrett McKinnon could be more involved than what we think. Now I could be completely wrong about that.
Give me the double we know versus the double.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly it.
But we've seen Chuba do his thing. We know what it's about. He's looked good the last couple of weeks. Darrell Williams, I like Darrell Williams. If it's just between these two right now, though, give me the devil I know.
Yeah, exactly. And Darrell Williams, like, he has been used in the passing game.
Yeah.
And he was when he filled in. However, Jarrett McKinnon excels at that. That's what my concern is that he excels at that.
We talk about it a lot, right? Like, a running back goes down, there is a handcuff who fills in, but don't expect all of that original starter's work to go to that handcuff. It usually then becomes a bit more of a committee than it was before that RB1 for that team went down. Rob Navarro coming in with another question here. PPR, do I play Kareem Hunt over any of the following? Darrell Henderson, Aaron Jones, or Eckler?
Oh my gosh, this is wow.
This is a great you got all these running backs, dude. Like, this is a good situation.
Yeah, this is a great situation. I would play I would play Hunt over Aaron Jones, only for the fact that Aaron Jones is dealing with that, and it eases your mind. You don't have to worry about, hey, what if
Hunt's been dropping 20 points a game the last several weeks. Like, he's been fantastic, and now he's going to get more opportunity. We expect Hunt's efficiency to drop a little bit. It usually does when Hunt comes out of the lineup, but his workload is going to go up. You talked about Felton, right, coming in as that other running back. That's going to happen, but like, it's going to be Hunt.
Yeah, it's going to be Hunt. Yeah,
lower efficiency, higher volume.
Yep.
I would do the same thing. I'd probably go Kareem Hunt, Eckler, Aaron Jones, Darrell Henderson for me.
Oh, okay. You have Henderson fourth?
Yeah, it's close, but that's where I would put him in there.
I don't mind that. Again, Aaron Jones, solid matchup. He should be used as that. Yeah, I'm fine with that.
14 carries, over 100 yards last week. Joey wants to know, need 2 wide receivers. He's got Robert Woods, Chase Claypool, Cortland Sutton, Marvin Jones, and Laviska Shenault. Just want to plug my boy Cortland Sutton here. Number 2 in air yards through 5 weeks. Like, I know he hasn't popped every week, but he's popped a couple of times. And number 1 in air yards on a conservative offense.
Yeah, I like Sutton. A slightly difficult matchup this week, but again, if I was going to play anybody for Denver this week, it would be Sutton, like you said.
What about here, though?
I would go. I would probably play Robert Woods and Marvin Jones. I love Marvin Jones. I know he kind of had a down week last week and the week before, but I do think this is kind of a nice situation. You also have Xavier Howard ruled out for the Dolphins already, so that bodes well as well for that London game for Marvin.
I agree. I think your logic is sound, Johnny. I just don't think that the Jaguars or Urban Meyer operate off of logic all that much.
Fair point.
For me, like, I agree, and I like the matchup call on this one. Another way of thinking about it, what I would take on is, like I said before, if it's a coin toss, I'm going with my studs. I think I would just probably go with Woods for sure, because he's healthy and coming off a good game. Probably Sutton. But I also like Claypool just on the uptick of what he did last week, and he's coming back better. But, like, it's a really good matchup point that you made there about the Jacksonville wide receivers. Maybe it's just like a thing I lean on if I'm in a situation. I lean on my studs.
That's a fair point.
Keep monitoring this, Joey, and tune in Sunday, an hour and a half before kickoff. We'll have more information to consider and be able to give you an even more accurate recommendation. That's going to be on the YouTube channel an hour and a half before kickoff Sunday morning. Those kick off before the 10 a.m. games, so 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. Justin here, another question. Hunter Henry, Dan Arnold, Ricky Seals-Jones as my fill-in for Kyle Pitts. I like Hunter Henry. He's got an uptick right now. He looked good last week.
Yeah, I would go Hunter Henry as well, unless Mclaren was out. If McLaurin's out, then I'd probably go Ricky Seals over Henry.
Yeah.
But
he could be the main man from the passing attack.
Yeah. So exactly. So, but yeah, as of right now, Justin, I would go Hunter Henry as well.
Justin got another question here. James Conner or Rashad Bateman in my flex? James Conner's playing behind Chase Edmonds, though, who's got a banged up shoulder. Rashad Bateman's first week back coming. I'm going James Conner in the flex on this one. He's been an RB2 as is. Rashad Bateman's just got hype right now. We haven't seen him in the NFL yet.
Yeah, I would agree.
Mr. Miyagi, what's good, man? CeeDee Lamb or AJ Brown? Ooh, this is a good question. John, you got both of them in our dynasty league. Who would you start?
Both. No, I would between the two. I would probably go CeeDee Lamb because I do expect. Yeah, if I have the two, I would go CeeDee Lamb.
This logic became clear. No, it's like, look, CeeDee Lamb and AJ Brown, you can make a genuine debate about who is more talented. Straight up, I think that's a fair conversation. Yeah. Different play styles, both so good.
I was trying to think about matchup with CeeDee Lamb being against New England, if that concerned me enough to say I would. But again, AJ against the Bills are just as tough. So yeah, I would. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would go and because I think if they're debatable on which one of them is more talented, let's call it a push at that angle. It might be fair to say that Dallas is more of a run-heavy team right now with Tony Pollard and Ezekiel Elliott doing their thing, but we know the Tennessee Titans are the run-heavy team as is, so those 2 points moot out there. And then it's who's healthier, and that's CeeDee Lamb.
Yeah.
So
also, if this is PPR, I think it would be
doubly.
Yeah. Okay.
Joey wants to know if I should start Hockenson or Schultz this week at tight end. Schultz has been on fire. Hawkinson's a stud. He's been down. He's a little bit banged up. Schultz is not banged up, and he's been a great weapon for Dak. Do you start Schultz over Hawk?
Let me check something really quick. I want to see New England is doing against the tight end. I think I would actually. Let me see. Dallas. Sorry. Who actually their bottom? No, I wouldn't.
You're going Hawkinson?
I would still start Hawkinson. I mean, Cincinnati is a more difficult matchup, but again, I would still go with Hawkinson again.
There's just so many ways that it could go in Dallas too, and there shouldn't be a lot of ways it could go in Detroit. There has been, but we expect that to level out.
Yeah.
All right. Gus is asking, he's debating between playing Lockett this week, but my backups are AJ Green and Jacoby Myers. I'm also starting Justin Jefferson. So I think the question here is debating playing Lockett over this week over AJ or Jacoby. AJ'd be the third of the three there for me, but Jacoby or Tyler Lockett this week. We'd have Tyler Lockett getting balls from Geno Smith. Jacoby Myers is in a really nice matchup, and he's due a tutty.
I would play Jacoby and Justin, and I would play Lockett over AJ. I would play. I don't like AJ Green's matchup this week.
Yeah, I'm with you. Hey, joining us from Twitch. What's up, Tico78?
Oh, our guy.
Love it, man. Good to see ya. He's 5-0. Congratulations. 10-team PPR, 2 flex, trade, Najee Harris, Amari Cooper, 4 CMC, Jacoby Myers. My RBs are Eckler, Monty Williams, Zach Moss. Wide receivers are Devontae Adams, Deebo Smith, Deontay Johnson, Chris Godwin, Cortland Sutton. Got nice wide receivers. So
I would not do this. No. I would not do this. CMC. I don't want CMC. Najee has been very good. He's not. I understand that line hasn't been great, but he has been just getting steady workload. Like his workload is up there with the highest. Give me Najee over And Amari is, I would keep Najee and Amari.
I like this. I like it also. I like staying pat, also given where the rest of your team is pointed. All
like,
right.
if you could switch out like Monty for instead, like, then I
There you
think
go.
it's okay, because then it's like injury risks for injury risk kind of thing.
Yeah.
But I would not do Najee right now.
Yeah, I agree. Let's help our boy Mr. Miyagi out here. Half point PPR, Kadarius Toney or Allen Robinson. Allen Robinson been down, Kadarius Toney been up, but Toney's a little bit banged up and he's a rookie.
Yeah, we'll see if Toney ends up playing this week. If Toney does play this week, then I am playing Toney over A-Rob until I see anything further from that.
Jerry's here was clarifying. Jerry also had Heineke starting because Russell's injury. So should I look elsewhere if Terry does sit this one out?
Ooh, yeah.
It's definitely worth consideration.
Probably, yeah.
Heineke is going to get downgraded if the number one receiving option, who's a real threat, is going to be out. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
I would look elsewhere. Heineke still could be like, depends if you're in a super flex situation. It depends on what else is out there. Heineke could be the best bet, but from what we know, from how most leagues are situated, he's probably not your best bet if Terry McLaurin is out.
Yep.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi's got a tip for the nation. Hang on to Cardinals defense next week.
Yes, I love this.
Yep,
Hey,
I tried to pick them up in a league, and they were already gone.
I know. I picked him up just because of that too.
Smart, man.
I didn't drop him, I should say.
Good pickup. Good hold.
Yeah.
Thomas Medina here. If Scary doesn't play, my options for flex are Ronald Seal-Jones, tight end, or RB2 Jerick McKinnon, or Randall Cobb. Please advise. Ludus from Panama. What's up, man? Ludus, good to see you. Good to see you. I'm not loving these options that you got here.
I would Ricky Seals is who I would play if Terry McLaurin out of those.
If you're also, I'm wondering what other types of wide receivers are available on your waiver wire. I mean, it seems like it's pretty deep. Like Randall Cobb is a deep dive. McKinnon's a deep dive.
Yeah. But here's the thing: Kansas top 5 in fantasy points allowed to the tight end position, and then if they don't have Terry McLaurin, you could. They're going to go even more to RSJ. So, like you said, just because it's a deep. I mean, you're McKinnon or Randall Cobb. Like, I would rather have the steady workload that I know is going to be there for RSJ.
Yeah, expected from those target deliveries. I would agree with that. But let's know if you got anybody else you're considering on the waiver wire. Joey's asking about Henderson or Gibson as RB2. He's got King Henry at number 1. Do you like Darrell Henderson or do you like Antonio Gibson?
Let me ask you. With this, if you have Henderson and Gibson, King Henry is against Bills, who are the number 1 defense in the league. They've surrendered very little. We did see when Derrick Henry did play another, fairly
just 17
good
carries
defense.
For not a lot of yards.
So would you start Henderson and Gibson over Henry this week? Because or you're like, I don't care if Henry gives me 7 against a bad matchup.
I'm doing that. Like, it's a situation where, we can try to psychologize the situation and say, hey, like I talked on the matchup breakdown where there's a world where this Tennessee Titans team who is way ahead in first of this division, the division is just really poor compared to the rest of the league. Like, they could just fold this game up. You know what I mean? Like, they could say, we're not going to stress out A.J. Brown, Julio Jones. We're not going to put more tread on Derrick Henry's shoulders. We can kind of afford to lose this game because of how poor our division is. And it's a really, really, really tough matchup. And we're just not prepared, us as the Titans, health-wise, to come in and give it our full force. So, there is a world where that happens and they don't play their studs. Like, honestly, I think that makes a lot of sense. But not from a sportsmanship perspective, and the NFL wouldn't want to see that happen either. They'd want to see both teams go all the way at it. If that's the line you believe is going to happen, like if you think the Titans are going to come out and play their hardest, no, I'm not benching King Henry. I'm not benching Derrick Henry in this situation because there's a world where he gets 35 touches and gets 150 yards against like a literal wall of steel soldiers. Like it's if you give him that much volume, he can do crazy stuff. He's going up against people who are really well coached. They're playing great defense.
Just worry about game script with that, man. Like, they are going to get boat raced fast.
If A.J. Brown and Julio, though, are both back and they both play well, and
I know, but then
Any given
that's
Sunday.
you're not getting that volume is where I'm at. But if you're ultimately okay, if you're asking, I would think I would roll with Henderson and Gibson, to be honest with you, over over playing Henry this week. But if I'm fine, like Austin said, like he's a stud. You get him in there, whatever. Then between Henderson and Gibson, who would you roll with this week?
That's such a I mean, if you sit Derrick Henry, the number one halfback in all formats, and he has a dud game, like you feel amazing, and it's a great position and it's a great call. If you bench the number one running back in all formats and he drops a 20 burger, like you're like, damn it.
I only do it. The only reason I'm saying is because he has Henderson and Gibson, who have two good matchups.
They're great.
So that's why
I like
I'm like, I don't mind going with that because
who else is in your flex? I wonder who else is in his
Yeah,
flex. Like, who do you got starting over this? Like, what wide receiver are you starting in your flex over
yeah, that's a good
Gibson
point.
or Henderson?
Let us
Maybe
know,
get all
Joey.
three.
Yeah, let
I'd
us
love
know,
to start
Joey.
all three guys.
Yeah, I would too.
Yeah.
Tomas saying half PPR 16 people league and the RSJ. Yeah, I would go RSJ. It makes sense on that depth there.
Julio, you helped Julio out last week, man. Tony, help me out last week. Tony pick this week. Tony, Tim Patrick, LaVisca, pick 2. I was thinking about Jared Cook even.
Help me out this week, Tony. Last week, okay. Tim Patrick. Oh, he's asking Tony, Tim Patrick, or LaVisca. Pick 2. I'm also thinking Jared Cook. Jared Cook is interesting. He's got a great matchup. But the only problem is they're straight up splitting the tight ends there, and like the routes ran and the target. So if it were only Jared Cook and not the other tight end that they have, that they do also like, then I would be okay with streaming Jared Cook in that position. But I don't necessarily. So I would probably stay in the Flames. If Tony ends up playing, I'm playing Tony and LaVisca. If Tony does not play, then obviously Tim Patrick and LaVisca.
I agree with that. And if you do too and you like what you're listening to, consider hitting that thumbs up button. And if you want to catch more daily content coming your way, hit us with a subscribe. You'll get that and that bell, so then you get notified whenever it comes up. Got a lot of live content coming throughout the week, including the Sunday lineup show an hour and a half before the 10 a.m. Pacific time kickoffs. That's 8:30 a.m. Pacific time, 11:30 a.m. Johnny and Travis are going to be going over all of your questions right before kickoff gets going. Reese Thomas wants to know Darrell Williams, or I'm assuming this is Khalil Herbert.
Darrell Williams.
I like Williams too.
Yeah.
Mr. Miyagi, Lamb, or AJ Brown rest of season. Trade target talk for Johnny and for AJ, and I've been seeing trade away Lamb as the passing for Dallas has gone down. I like. We just talked about this. I like Lamb. I like AJ Brown rest of season. Actually, rest of season. I think I might like AJ Brown.
Yeah, I like AJ Brown rest of the season just because AJ Brown is going to be a number one. Like, he'll be the number one option. I don't think he's going. I mean, you got Amari, you got Zeke, you got so that's where it's at. But I do think that I still think Lamb is going to be a top 12 fantasy receiver this year. I just have AJ Brown higher than that.
Yeah, just a couple of good talented dudes here. Jimmy Navarro wants to know if Terry sits. Adam Humphrey or LaVisca Chenault? Yes, it's bad. LOL, thanks.
I love that. I would go Chenault.
Me too. I like the upside over there.
Yep.
Gaming back. Would you rank Zack Ertz or Dallas? Oh, I think did this one climb up? We're going Dallas Goedert on this one. Got it back in there.
Yeah.
Dallas Goedert. Half point PPR. LaVisca Chenault, Darnell Mooney, or Alex Collins. Carson is ruled out. Good update. All right.
Yeah.
Chenault, Mooney, or Alex Collins. I think I like Alex Collins. Half point PPR though. Mooney at Mooney. Chenault. Oh, this is a tight one. You lean in one way?
I don't like Mooney. I would either roll with Alex Collins or Chenault. PPR. I like the ups. I think Chenault has higher upside. Here's what I'll say. This is like a scapegoat, but like it also works. Here's what I say. If you think that you need a higher upside playing Chenault, because I think Chenault has the higher upside game. But if you just need you're like, I need to make sure that my player does not create fantasy points, I'm going Alex Collins because I think he has a more solid floor and you can more so bank on that production. But if you're trying to play against a team where you think you're going to need that major upside, then Chenault is that guy because he runs those deep routes. He is a good, talented wide receiver, and the Dolphins have been passed on significantly so far this season. So that's where I would go.
I like that. I think that Chenault definitely does have a higher upside. I think it's a lot harder for Chenault to hit his upside compared to Collins, but Chenault still does have the higher upside.
Yeah.
Tomas, gracias, amigos. De nada. De nada. It's great to have you here. Mr. Miyagi, is Tannehill a start if AJ and Jones are back? They're going up against the Bills.
I do think depending on who you have, then yeah, like I'd rather start Tannehill this week than Kirk Cousins.
Joey clarifying Mclaren, Diggs, and DJ Moore. Was this a clarifying question from Joey earlier?
Oh, those were his 3 wide receivers. So here's the thing.
Put McLaurin down.
Yeah, if McLaurin doesn't play, then yeah, you go with Diggs and DJ Moore. You're definitely starting Diggs. You're definitely starting DJ Moore. Both those two have a smash spot.
Bro, I would just bench McLaurin at this point anyways. He's not 100%. Like, yeah, I love Diggs. I love DJ Moore. And I love Henderson. But those Derrick Henry and Gibson. Like, I would just I would bench. I'd bench McLaurin, Joey, honestly. Yeah. And I got McLaurin in multiple leagues, and I need him to do well. But if I was in your boat, that's what I would do, and I wouldn't hate myself even if McLaurin ended up having a couple of touchdown passes.
Is Trevor Lawrence
the best
streamer this week?
I mean, it depends on who's on your waiver wire.
Yeah, it depends on who's on your waiver wire. But some of these waiver wires are super thin. I could imagine that he's been quietly putting together some very nice weeks, and then you get the Dolphins. Oh, and a traveling week, I get that. But Dolphins right now, they are giving the 5th most fantasy points to opposing quarterbacks right now. They've given up 12 passing touchdowns, which ranks 3rd in the NFL, just behind the Bucs, the Washington football team, and the Indianapolis Colts. So I do think that he is a sneaky start for sure.
I like that. Hey, Aladdin, Tannehill or Wentz? I'd go Tannehill. You going Wentz?
I would go Wentz. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
I do. I like to see it. Wentz has low key actually been decent. And he's been playing more solid as those ankles, both his ankles heal up there. But because of the matchups, I would go Wentz over Tannehill this week.
Fair point. I don't hate that logic. Mr. Miyagi, Tannehill is my only quarterback. Understood. Wonder what else you got there on the waiver. Reese coming in. Pick 3, Terry McLaurin. I'm assuming Keenan Allen, Mike Williams, or Chase Claypool. Keep an eye out on Terry. If Terry's done, if he's out
also
this
Mike
week,
Williams.
Mike Williams.
Yeah, I do think that ultimately Mike Williams does play, but let's say all 4 of them are healthy, Austin. Which 4 are you playing?
If all 4 are healthy, and let's pretend Chase Claypool is more healthy than we know that he is, I mean, it's those first 3. It's Terry, it's Keenan Allen, it's Mike Williams.
I feel
but where they're at right now, if Terry's actually healthy and it really is just hamstring tightness and it's a precautionary move, it's still just those first 3 because Chase Claypool is hurt. But if Terry McLaurin is dealing with a bit more of a serious injury, I'm dropping him off and I'm going Mike Williams, I'm going Keenan Allen, and I'm going Chase Claypool on this. Yeah. I feel fine about it.
I feel really bad. Reese came in here. I feel bad. He asked me last week, Mike Williams or Keenan Allen, and I like both the matchups. So I was like, either one of that. And I ultimately end up saying go Keenan Allen, which ended up having a solid day. But then Mike Williams had the number 1 fantasy day, and I feel bad about this. So I apologize, Reese. Appreciate you tuning back in, buddy.
We're going to keep staying in the flames with you. Aladdin on Snow, is Ernest worth a pickup? I guess this would be over there in Cleveland. Would this be the other running back that they'd run with since Chubb's out?
I mean, Ernest did get it last year, but Felton is also someone that has been getting the workload so far this season. So it depends on how deep your running, your league is. But I would rather have Felton than Ernest.
Miyagi, Daniel Jones is off the injury report. Are you starting him?
Against the Rams, against the Rams so he just said Tannehill. So it's either Daniel Jones or Tannehill against the Bills. Pretty tough one. I would say Rams do give up more passing yards than I think I would rather go Danny Dimes over Tannehill this week.
I feel better about it. I don't think Daniel Jones gets shut out. I think Daniel Jones has a higher floor.
Yeah, and he has that rushing.
Been so tough.
Yeah, Yeah, 100%.
Straight game, he's got Jalen Hurts as backup quarterback in a 14-team league. That's nice. Lots of teams' quarterbacks are underperforming, and I'm trying to make a trade, struggling to find how much value he has. Thoughts? I think he's got a lot of value, and I think he's going to get more value as he keeps going because he really hasn't played 12 for 26 last night. It can really only go up for Jalen Hurts, and in 6-point passing touchdowns, he hasn't had under 20 points all season.
Right.
And he really hasn't hit much above his floor, I think, either.
What I would suggest is going to look at your roster, see what you need, right? If you need a running back, if you need a wide receiver, or tight end, or whatever your weakness that you feel you need to fill, then I would go to those teams that you deem that need a quarterback and look at their roster, and you look to see what those pieces that they have. And if any of those, if they have extra or they have a piece that you like, then I would then try to trade for that piece to fill whatever weakness you need. So that's what I would say is the value that you need to look for. You don't specifically need to go out and get a specific, you know what I'm saying? I can't tell you to go and go out and get a specific player. You need to go to a team that has a need at quarterback that also has a somewhat extra of what you're looking for. That's the easiest way to get a deal done. That's the way to get the best value for that quarterback.
Can't agree with that logic more. That's how we do all of our trades here. Reese clarifying. It's Jamar Chase, not Claypool. Then it's Jamar Chase, man. That's bumping up. Jamar Chase for me is right there at the top.
Yep.
Terry McLaurin is the odd man out right now for me, even if he does play between those players. Gus Ramos wants to know, would you rather deal with Chucky or Annabelle? I'm going Chucky because you can actually talk to Chucky. I don't think I've seen the Annabelle one, but I think that's just like a amorphous demon kind of thing that just gets you. Chucky, though, you can have conversation with. That was like a New Yorker dude who got stuck in this doll. You can go back and forth and reason with Chucky. Annabelle,
would you want? Oh yeah, you could reason. I don't think you could reason with Chucky. He was just like, but that is a good point that you can talk to him, and I guess. This is a weird question here, but would you rather be able to talk to your killer, or would you?
I want to give myself every chance, every tool
to get out of it.
If I can talk my way out of it, I'm gonna try that. Maybe I've got something that can appeal to Chucky. I know Annabelle's coming for my soul, and that's the only thing I think. Would
you be more terrified if you were sitting there and all of a sudden a doll started talking to you? Or would you just be more terrified if the doll just started to walk towards you with the knife or something?
Bro, at this point in 2021, you can't shake me, bro. I'm not surprised by whatever you're throwing at me. We got walking dolls now. We got murder hornets. We got all kinds of crazy stuff. I think I'd be more freaked out with a doll with a knife, though. To answer the question.
Yeah, fairly good point.
Ladder wants to know, pick 2, half-point PPR, Moss, Sutton, or Emmanuel Sanders.
Let's see, Moss Sutton. I'm going Emmanuel Sanders, and I think I'm going Emmanuel Sanders and Zach Moss.
You're going both of the Buffalo guys going up against there?
Yeah.
I don't hate it. Tough matchup for Sutton on a pretty slow-moving offense. And here we got half-point PPR, Jamal Williams or Singletary. Ooh.
Jamal. Depending on if he doesn't end up suiting up, then I go Singletary. But
monitor that health. But we like Zach Moss moving forward. That's not good for Singletary. Tannehill, Wentz, Matt Ryan. Need to drop one. Who are you dropping of these 3, John?
Matt Ryan.
Yep.
He's getting the lowest amount of volume of both of those guys, and you don't like that offense.
Don't like that one right now. Davis Tinsley, pick 2, full point PPR. CeeDee Lamb, Brandon Cooks, T. Higgins, Jalen Waddle, CeeDee Lamb. I kind of like Brandon Cooks a bit. T. Higgins is coming back first time. I don't usually like playing players first on their first day back. And Jalen Waddle, Tua's first game back also. Jalen Waddle hasn't been super impressive with his depth of targets. I think I'd go those first 2.
Good upgrade with Parker being out for Jalen Waddle and getting Tua back. But however, again, you're going with CeeDee Lamb and then Brandon Cooks, who's been getting 30+% market share for his team. I understand the last few weeks have been down, but he's been having a terrible matchup, where teams are just focusing on him because they know that. And so I do think with this matchup being a better one this week, I'm rolling Cooks out there as well. And CeeDee Lamb for me.
Yeah, Mr. Miyagi wants us to plug the Monday Night Show. You know we're going to do it.
Oh,
It gets
yeah.
better. This kid go, meow. That was so fun.
Yeah.
Tom Grassi Posse, what's good? Mr. Miyagi is definitely feeling that one. I
Yes.
saw he made another comment in there. Love having you with us, Mr. Miyagi. Love hearing you plug that Monday night and all the other great comments. Make sure you like and subscribe so that you can just easily get notified and not have to think about it. It'll just hit you with that reminder. Last question here we got from Gersh. One quarterback league, Tua, Fields, or Trevor Lawrence. We talked about Trevor Lawrence being sneaky good the last few weeks. You going with him?
I think I would go with Lawrence.
Fields.
Yeah, I would go with Lawrence this week.
Me too. Me too. Gus Ramos, Aj Dillon looking good. Any news on Aaron Jones? Just curious. No new news. He's been dealing with an ankle injury. We knew this a couple of weeks ago. It's not great. He's not going to be 100% Aaron Jones, that is, but last week he had 14 carries for over 100 yards. Aj Dillon is going to be getting more and more involved, though. He's knocking on the door of standalone flex consideration. If Aaron Jones was to miss any time, he's a surefire Hara upside RB2 for me. Aj Dillon would automatically become. That's not what's happening, though, right now. Aaron Jones has been playing through that ankle injury, and he hasn't looked bad. Aj Dillon, though, has also just looked good.
Mm-hmm.
Johnny, you're looking good, man. It's been fun to do this with you. That's the end of the questions. That's the end of the news and nuggets. It's the end of the show.
Hey, appreciate you. Looking great out there. Enjoy the rest of the day. Have fun tonight. I know that you're also attending the wedding that Big Travis is going to. So enjoy your night. Whisper Nation, enjoy your Friday night. If you want to get more in-depth breakdown of each of the matchups and what we think and our opinions are, make sure you check out the podcast. We release the weekly matchup breakdown. Or if you like watching and seeing our beautiful faces, then make sure you go on over, help support us on our Patreon, patreon.com/the Fantasy Whispers, where you can get a video version of the matchup breakdown each and every single week, as well as extra bonus content. And you get invited to a jersey raffle, which we give away at the end of the month. We just gave away a Keenan Allen jersey for that raffle. So shout out to Brett Johnson for being a Patreon subscriber. Appreciate you. And
Brett won the Keenan Allen jersey?
Yeah.
Nice. He loves Keenan Allen.
$10 just get you entered into that for the Patreon. As well as you get all of that extra bonus content I just talked about. So head on over to the patreon.com/the Fantasy Whispers. Help keep the lights on over here on the Fantasy Whispers channel. Help us
all
get
right, well, the lights
content.
are about to come. Lights are about to come off now as I'm Austin Sear. That's Johnny Game Time Hicks. They were the Fantasy Whispers. And we're out.
Peace.
Right here.
Look at you go. You made it to the end of another one of our videos. Hey, if you still have some questions, I totally understand. Or you just want to join an awesome fantasy football community, head on over to our Discord chat. Link is in the description below. And if you're still not sold on us, check out one of these videos.